Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with my last video for my mini album for what I read in 2019. So I always start by cutting out. This year I decided to use little coffee cups to keep track of my books, and in the month of December I read 10 books. And that's how many books I had left to read to reach my 100 book goal. And I finished reading the last book on December 30th. So I'm stamping out the numbers, and this month it goes from 91 to 100. So what I do is, instead of taking the number 9 out 9 times, is I take the number 9 and I stamp the first 9 the first 9 on the coffee cup on all of them. And then of course there's 99, so then I stamp both, and then I went through the rest of the stamp sets the stamp set and took number 2, number 3, number 4, and I went from until the number that I needed. Then I took out a Project Life kit, and I don't go through all my kits. It's just every month I pick one kit and I choose the cards from there. I don't go back and forth between different kits because I'm trying to make it so that this process is fairly quick. Now, once I look at the picture and I see what colors are more predominant in the picture, and then I kind of decide on a card based on that. And then the other card, I try to find a card that is either a dot grid or a lined card so that I can do the journaling. Then I stick the pictures on right away, and then I bring up my Goodreads and I actually look at the order that I finish the books, and that's the order that I have them in my album. So throughout the years, I've come up with a little system, I guess, that kind of streamlines the process a little bit. So, I print all the photos at once, which I go through my pick frame app. I choose the size 4 2.3, and that's the perfect size for a 3x4 card. I print all my pictures at one, and it fits 2 on one 4x6 card. And then at the beginning of the year, I'll print out whatever little, whether it's a little book or a coffee cup, I'll stamp out the entire year all at once. I'll make sure that I stamp at least 100 on a sheet of white cardstock, and then I just cut them out as I need them every month. Then I choose my cards, and then I glue the picture on. Then I have a 5-star rating stamp, and then I'll go to each card and I just stamp the rating right away. And then I go through each card and add a little bit of embellishment. And usually when I start the year, I make myself a kit in one of my iris containers, and I just grab the stuff from there. Now let's chat a little bit about the books that I read in December. The first book was Warcross by Marie Lu, and this is a young adult fantasy, and it's about a hacker that gets hired to catch someone that is kind of hacking a virtual reality game, and they want her to catch whoever is doing this. It is action-packed. I love that book. I gave it 5 stars, and I can't wait to read the second book, which I'm going to read in the month of January. Now, the next book I read was a Christmas book. It is a young adult contemporary. It's called 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. And it's about a girl who gets dumped by her boyfriend just before Christmas, and she goes to her grandmother's house, and they start setting her up on 10 blind dates. I love that book so much. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I just love the family dynamic in that book. I loved the family, and I love the story. I gave it 4.5 stars. So good, and it's a good Christmas book too. The next book I read was a novella, The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky, and it's the 2.5 novella for the Gentleman's Guide series, I guess, by Mackenzie Lee. It was cute. I didn't know it was a novella when I bought it, so I was a little disappointed when it came in. It was a novella, but it was really cute. I love the characters. I love Percy and Monty. And the last book in the trilogy is coming out this summer, so I can't wait to read it. The next book I read was The Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. It's another book in the Percy Jackson series. I just love the Percy Jackson series. Even though it's a middle grade series, I enjoy the whole series. Loved it. Gave it 4 stars. The next book is also a collection of novellas, and it is part of the Darkest Mind series. And it's called The Rising Dark by Alexandra Bracken. And it had different stories, different novellas from the characters in the story, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I love reading all the books that are part of a series, even the novellas. I just find it finishes the story for me. The next book was probably one of my favorites of the month. It's called The Genie Key by Bethany Atazadeh. She is an indie author, and this is part of a YA fantasy series, The Stolen Kingdom. And this is a Little Mermaid retelling, and I really love the twist that she put on it. It's a really loose retelling, but I really love the characters, and I can't wait for the next book, which is coming out in June. The next book I read is Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. It's part of a series. It's like a companion series. And this is an adult contemporary. This is about Maddie's mother. Maddie was the character in the last book. And Maddie's going overseas for her job, and she brings her mom along. And this is about her mom and her romance story. And it's, again, over the holidays. So I tried to read a lot of books that were Christmassy. And I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't my favorite of the series, but I really did enjoy it. The next book I read is also a Christmas book. It's The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Han. And this is a retelling of Scrooge, except Scrooge is a girl. And I really liked the direction that she went with this Scrooge retelling. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I really loved a lot of the books that I read this month. I'm really happy with all the books that I read. The next one I read was The Wicker King by Kay Ancrum. This is a YA contemporary about 2 friends and how one of them has some issues and how the other friend is trying to help him through that on their own, and all the shenanigans that happens, and growing up and finding your identity and all that. And it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was the end of a series. It's a duology, and it was One Giant Leap by Heather Kaczynski. And this is a sci-fi about aliens and battles and all this stuff. And I enjoyed the first book a whole lot more. I think I gave it 4.5 stars, but I still enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. Really good book. I'm really happy with the way I ended the year. Now, I'm just showing you that then the next step that I do is I bring in my album and I just put things in it right away. And then as soon as I'm done the month, my journaling is done. It's not as if I just do the decorating and embellishing and then I leave the journaling for later like I do with a lot of my journaling pages. This project, once I'm done the month, I'm done. And like in this case, this was the last books of the year and it's all done. Now, one thing I have to say, I don't know how I'm going to do my album for this year. I know I'm going to do one. I'm thinking it's going to be in a 12 by 12 album, and I was going to say I might just put it in with my regular scrapbooking, but I'll probably have an album of its own, and then I'll just keep adding the years in that big album. And then it'll be fun to be able to go through a bigger album and then see all the books that I've read in multiple years. And I might end up taking these and put it in my bigger album. And now I'm just flipping through the whole album just to show you what it looks like. It's nothing too fancy, but it's just nice to have a place where I have, all the books that I've read in a year. At the beginning of the year, I was kind of putting my TBR, which half the sheets or half the cards are not even filled out. So it's not something that I'm going to keep going after a while. I just stop doing it. And if I move it into the big album, I probably won't bring those cards over. But that's it. That's going to complete my mini album for 2019. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.